Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, and today we have some big fucking news. And you know it's some big fucking news when you hear me drop two major F-bombs this early in the video with the risk of demonetization. But either way, Dragon Ball Super Chronicles reported that weekly Dragon Ball episodes will be set after the Universal Survival arc and are in production. The anime will be back in 2023. Now, he's not the only person to report on Super's return, but his next point is what really shows that Dragon Ball is really coming back for good. And if you know anything about Dragon Ball Super Chronicles, he's extremely accurate when it comes to news. He reported that a new Dragon Ball movie will occur after Superhero and is currently in pre-production. Toei is planning on releasing movies once every 2 to 3 years. Now, when you consider the fact that they would consider producing movies at a consistent rate, in addition to the anime coming back, in addition to the manga being active, that basically shows that Dragon Ball is coming back on the air without a doubt, because there's too many major moves in one direction, especially when you consider that Superhero just came out, Gohan and Piccolo just got brand new forms, so they're way more relevant whenever the show comes back. But what we're going to do now is we're going to jump directly into the good reasons as to Super's return, and also talking about some of the negatives that can come out with this. Let's start off with one of the good things. One of the good things about Super's return is the timing of when it's coming back in conjunction with its manga counterpart. Obviously, Dragon Ball Super's manga comes out once every month, and the anime was well ahead of the manga for when it was running on the air. So because of that, the manga was actually behind, and in most cases when it comes to these, major series in Japan, the manga is usually what comes out first, and it basically gives you like a bible of what to follow through, of what are the major points, and the anime is supposed to have its, animated different interpretations that can branch out, add some filler here or there, and make changes, but the manga is usually what's supposed to come first. So, because we already know what two arcs are going to come out first, the thing that sucks about that is that we kind of know what's going to happen, but the benefit is that we get to see these manga arcs animated, and we can see some potential changes that can give the anime a completely new taste and direction as compared to what we already knew in the manga. And that takes us directly into our next point, where we are going to talk about the Moro arc. Now, I'm going to make a separate video talking about this a lot more in depth, guys, but I think the Moro arc is by far the best arc in Dragon Ball Super history. Now, granted, I'm talking about the anime and I'm talking about the manga, and guys, I really love Future Trunks as a character. The history of Trunks is my favorite storyline. I thought before the Moro arc came out that, just based off of the anime, that the Trunks arc was the best arc in Super. I thought the Tournament of Power had better fight scenes and better animation, but I felt that the Trunks arc was the best arc in Dragon Ball Super, for Dragon Ball Super standards. And I get it, guys. Saying the Moro arc is the best arc in Dragon Ball Super doesn't have the greatest amount of weight, because it's like saying, hey, I'm the best in Super. But for Super, nobody can deny, at least when you make a good argument, that the Moro arc is really good, and here's why. Moro, or shall I say the Moro arc as a whole, was the first arc in Dragon Ball Super that really felt like a conventional, awesome Dragon Ball Z story, where you have a villain that has a unique ability, he has his goals, and he's a threat to our main characters. Our characters don't just get transformations just because they have to fight and they have to earn their transformations. For example, Vegeta learned how to do Spirit Fission, and he also learned how to use Instant Transmission. Goku trained with mirrors to perfect his Mastered Ultra Instinct state. So there was tension, in addition to the fact that I felt our characters had to really work for what they had, in addition to the other side characters having to be involved when all the prisoners came to planet Earth. So with all of that said, and the fact that the battle took place on Earth, which is really important, because if you're fighting on another planet or another universe, it doesn't have the same feel as when the threat is actually directly on your planet. Therefore, I always felt that the Moro arc would be fantastic if it was animated, and of course we're going to go more in depth about the Moro arc in a separate video, but the Moro arc alone is a major reason as to why I feel that Dragon Ball Super's return will be really good, because the Moro arc being animated will be fantastic, because we'll finally get a chance to see the best arc in Dragon Ball Super animated. Now, in terms of the Granola arc, as of this recording, obviously it's not over, and there are issues with the Granola arc. We'll see how it ends, but at least we'll be able to see Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct and a lot of some of the cool moments animated, even if the arc itself has problems that we can also talk about in a separate video. But that basically does it for the two big reasons as to why Super's return will be good. It will be behind the manga, which is really good in terms of pacing, and allowing the creators to have a lot more time to animate and put things into context, in addition to the fact that we will finally get a chance to see the Moro arc animated, and regardless of what happens to the Granola arc. But now let's get on to the bad guys. In terms of the bad things about Super's return, one of them involves the Dragon Ball community. Now, I don't want to call names, but I have been around the block when it comes to Dragon Ball, right? Obviously, I'm one of the quote-unquote OGs of this, you know, anime Dragon Ball YouTubing community. I mean, I was really the first person, along with Black and Fist, to really do, like, these discussion-type topics. So I have seen the evolution of Dragon Ball YouTubers to the point where myself and another YouTuber who I will not call, we are able to predict the Dragon Ball YouTube community like a meteorologist predicting the weather. It's so easy to see how people manipulate other people with clickbait and using very cheap tactics to do things. For example, I'll give you one example that I'll talk about in privacy. When it was revealed that Goten and Trunks grew up in Dragon Ball Superhero, myself and another Dragon Ball YouTuber said that somebody is going to circle Goten and Trunks doing an incorrect fusion, and then they're gonna put a red circle around it. We predicted the exact color and everything, and basically the point is here, guys, is that when Super returns, the clickbaiters and the fans that really didn't care about Dragon Ball are gonna all of a sudden become Dragon Ball fans to try to make money off of the community, whereas real Dragon Ball YouTubers that were doing videos before Super was even created, or when Super was off the air, you were gonna be lumped in the same category as them, you know? I'll be honest, I definitely have had some things in my life that I had to deal with, which is why my uploading consistency wasn't there, but the clickbaiting and the negative aspects of trying to manipulate this community is going to come back when Super comes back, and that is a major downfall. Now, the next point that I'm going to talk about here, guys, is also dealing with what-if discussions, and specifically I'm going to talk more about this channel. And I want your advice, guys. I think you guys can help me here. So, one of the problems that happened when Dragon Ball Super started is that a lot of the OG original Qaaman what-ifs kind of became irrelevant, and the reason is because when you're doing a what-if, and then an ongoing show is reset, then basically your what-ifs become irrelevant, because my what-ifs can only go up until the Universe 6 tournament. They can only go up to Resurrection F. They can only go up to the Tournament of Power. You know what I'm saying? It can only go as far as however far Super is, unless it's a completely negative outcome where everybody would end up dead before, you know, that happens anyways. And ultimately, if Super were to return, that will make a major change on some of the what-ifs I've done more recently, in addition to current what-ifs that you guys would want to do. And the level of finality to a lot of those original what-ifs were great until Super came in, specifically at a time period that was in between the death of Kid Buu and before the end of Z, which basically completely destroyed a lot of those what-ifs simply because they were based off of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z alone. And with Dragon Ball Super's return, we're once again gonna bump into this problem where if you want what-ifs, well, they're gonna be incomplete until the very end. So my question is, how do you guys suggest I do that? Me personally, I feel like the best course of action is just to upload a lot of the stockpiled what-ifs that I have, because I have many of them, until Super officially comes back, and then when Super is on the air, we'll just see where we can go from there. But ultimately, guys, I think Super's return is way more good than bad. If I were to give you a ratio, I would say 70-30, 70% positive, 30% negative, and to be honest, I'm excited, more so for the Moro arc than anything else, and I want to hear what you guys think. So until next time, take care of yourselves.